Yes, Crypto Sniper is back. How are you guys doing? Greatly appreciate your attendance and a massive thank you to all of those of you who've been tagging your favorite other follower and sharing it through both Twitter and Facebook. We appreciate it and it's showing. Thank you for doing that. We keep it ad-free for you. What are you going to hear from me today about crypto? Well, some of you might have been getting a little frustrated. What's wrong? It's supposed to be just a money machine that just goes and goes. I'm going to explain to you here, now, and in great detail that no one else does on any similar channel with the concept of relative valuation assessments, and a relative valuation assessment that's going to take in way more things than you've even thought about. And we're going to illustrate why Bitcoin, in terms of its relative value assessment, has just typically on mean doubled its relative value assessment to many other assets, in some cases 60%, and why it's moved from one round number of valuation in many instances to another very key level of round number valuation, and is hence also resting after making that degree of progress, which also dovetails perfectly with our confluences and our interim level 2 on our macro HVF, which said the $19,257 odd dollars was going to be a regular, consistent stall point for Bitcoin. We further got a little bit of smaller time frame, inverted squeezy Japanesey for downside, and we drew that and we set a target. And if you're following the Twitter account, by the way, at the Crypto Sniper, at the Market Sniper, at the Reset Sniper for reset the stuff, if you're following that, we said, well, we felt that we've got a 17.5 run in us. The chart I was using is Stamp. That has occurred. I think on Binance, not quite there or thereabouts. But actually, we've now made our targets on that. But you might ask, could we go further? It is possible, but I will make a case for why I think this is now relative lows. And actually, there's opportunity to be collecting. And then some of you would go, but, you also said weekends are seasonal periods of weakness for crypto. And it has been when there's been a net buying environment. Actually, we probably had more during this week, a net selling environment potentially. Someone suggested it's the Christmas shopping, sir. It may possibly well be. Somebody has made some money and decided to spoil both himself and hopefully his family. And maybe there might be some light distribution. It's possible. It's possible. It's a fun thought anyway. I don't know how Christmassy it's going to be this year. But nonetheless, gifts are given. So, yeah, we've had a bit around. So we're not over fearing the weekend. What the weekend might bring instead, as a result of this week, is not the Monday, Friday sellers. Normally, they've been the Monday, Friday buyers. But in actual fact, as we pointed out, there's been a little bit of, calm your pants down and cooling back. And we'll get into the details of why. And we're going to bring a whole bunch of interesting assets. We're also going to just make a couple of other points in conjunction with that. And that's going to be an interesting lesson for you to take away. So you're going to learn something, even on Freeview. You'll get a whole bunch more, by the way, if you jump in with the channel. And the premium community, the link is below. Book a call. It costs absolutely nothing to talk to somebody. And they're not salespeople, they're traders like you who actually made a decision to join the community. So talk to them below. And that link is below. Plus, don't forget the Market Sniper merch. You can get yourself a coffee mug. Must have coffee. Okay, anyway, let's get into some of the detail. I'm going to start with something, and maybe just before I do, just before I go straight into the chart, let's just make a key comment. So what's happening globally in terms of your great money system? Well, this is what's happening. There's a lot of money being created. So it's got to flow somewhere. So Bitcoin is a bet on the failure of fiat currencies, or the large devaluation in fiat currencies. But other assets classes have also benefited from this. Now you could do something very interesting that Raoul did on Real Vision. You can take the total expansion by central banks of the money supply and divide all assets by that and see which assets have overperformed. I think that's a great idea, and you can do that. or you can actually compare the different assets themselves that might be likely beneficiaries of all this money being proliferated. Who's getting that money? Are you getting it? Or are the billionaire class getting it and pumping it into the stock market? They don't need to spend anymore. They're already billionaires. If they wanted a Bugatti, they've already got one in every different color for Monday through Friday, etc., etc., etc. They don't want for anything. I'm even, without being a billionaire, I'm a tough guy to buy for Christmas. If I need something, I've probably got it. And I don't skimp. I get something quality. I'm sure if you're my age, without having to be a billionaire, you do the same yourself. So it's kind of like these guys invest. Once you've done that, you just build wealth and you nurture money, because you got to be rich because you learn to value money. You see, this is the game. When you don't have money, you think of all the things you can buy when you get money. When you have money, what you do is you start thinking, how do I grow it and custodian it in a responsible manner, not just for myself or for other people, so that it creates more. And then it becomes more altruistic. So this is where these billionaires and centimillionaires are at, and they are getting the cheap money. So they invest. They want to be in the game. And the game is collecting points and beans, and they've got more beans than they could ever eat. But nonetheless, let's grow more beans. So they're investing in stock markets. So we have indices, Dow, S&P. You will be looking with me, Bitcoin's relative performance to the two biggest US indices. Which stock markets have got the bulk of the benefit? Well, the biggest printer and proliferator from COVID is actually America. That doesn't mean Britain, Europe haven't printed as well, but a lot of that money seems to be global, and it sloshes into where it grows fastest. So there's actually been a crowding out into the stinky stoink market, which is the US stinky stoink market. And what have we seen? A lot of money. And what are these companies doing? There's almost a shortage of equity script. Tesla, we'll be looking at it, is actually doing a 5 billion rights issue. Why? Because their stock is ridiculously overvalued for whatever little earnings they do generate. They've got a supercharged stock price. What you must do is soak up that demand for your equity by offering more and getting massive cash piles that literally you could build a spaceship to go to Mars. What a stupid idea. Oh, hang on, they're actually doing that. Anyway, it's not in that company, it's a different one, but I'm being silly. So we're going to compare it to that equity. We're also going to compare it to the precious metals group, which gold so many times and Bitcoin so many times get represented as electronic gold. Many people will say that's a simplification. It's a whole bunch more than that, etc., etc., etc. The whole new ecosystem, the payments, etc., etc. But you've heard it. You can't get away from it. Peter Schiff has bought himself a lifelong army of trolls for going either or. And every time crypto, which is probably the fastest horse out of the precious metals complex and crypto by some way, he's going to keep getting the KYC special meme. So let's go into some charts and let's have a look how Bitcoin has shaped up against, wait for it, we'll go straight into, hold me now. Let's start with the Dow. So I'm opening up a big ass chart here. For you to have a little look at with me, and you should, if you're looking up below now, you should see a bit of day glow yellow. I've had to come up with a new colors. People are offended by my color naming standards. I must become more sensitive.
Can you move the chart a little bit lower? The top is not visible.
The top is not visible? Sure can. It's
like that, and just stretch it a little bit.
No, that's again. We must be allowed to see, otherwise the whole idea is lost. We're also going to go into the exchanges, by the way. Well, we need it as big as possible. Left and right. Okay, so what have I done here? And by the way, you guys can do this. So this has come out of TradingView, but it's in an editor page now, so it's not in TradingView, which is why we're having to scale this correctly. You're looking at Bitcoin divided by the Dow, the value of the Dow. Now, the Dow is the old grandfather of indices, so it's the Dow Jones Industrial, and It's a big ass stock index that's existed for a long time. It's America's 30 biggest companies, and it's not specifically tech orientated, although more and more obviously the biggest companies are moving that way. But it used to be railroads and IBM and all these other things. So let's see, you might recognize this chart. It still looks like Bitcoin. Why? Well, Bitcoin walks its own route, and it had a super bull market, and against everything it was super bull. So that's why if I go back to the pink, we will see that you have this present. It wasn't even pink. Don't know what happened there. I got blue. Must have the pink. No, doesn't want to give me pink. Give me my pink. Anyway, it's coming through blue and I can't explain it. You see, I've upset some people. There you go. So it's a mega bull and then a crash. We had a long time building a base there that would set up our big short call from 6,000 to 3,000. But what I'm saying is, if you do volume by price analysis, by the way, something you'll learn a great deal about if you on a program with us using the Hunt Volatility Funnel method, and you'll watch us implement in the charts. I don't tend to do an excessive amount on free view on that and a number of other topics. But what you will come to understand is this yellow box area, which kind of started with July of 17 into the 2018 high and ran all the way up to quite recently. We're probably mid-September, we could even be beginning October there, that entire yellow box zone has actually been the most populated by volume and is probably the point around which we call this a stall box. You'll see there's a green arrow, and I've also put the value there, 0.3. So Bitcoin essentially bought you 30% of the Dow basket. So remember, an index is all the biggest shares according to their weighting. So it'll have a big chunk of, let's say, their most valuable stock, all the way down to a fairly small chunk of number 30 in it. So it's a basket, weighted basket of their market caps. And how much of that does a single Bitcoin buy? So we have taken Bitcoin and we've divided it by the Dow. So the Dow number was bigger in terms of value. In other words, this, if it was 3,000 Bitcoin or 5,000 or 6,000 Bitcoin, you were on 12,000, 15,000 Dow. So you're coming out at around a third. Now what you'll see is that most of the time we were in this box area of valuation. We had the super valuation of Bitcoin over there. So if I just take, clear that those jaws a little bit. Having a minor malfunction here on there we go, that's better. Don't forget to leave your comments and questions, by the way, while I sort my act out here. We will be going through them all. All the best ones anyway. So going back to this, so we've essentially pivoted around 30% valuation. One Bitcoin has bought you 30% of the Dow. And we broke away and left this yellow zone at the orange arrow over here. You can see it over there at the top right box of our yellow area. We went from being 30% of the Dow to a single Bitcoin being worth 60% of the Dow. So in a very short set of circumstances, and it didn't run right from the 30% line. This was a stall box zone. The midpoint of that stall box was 30%. We were down at 20% and even lower. We went right down to 15 at our worst point, but most of the time, the bulk of the valuation was sitting in here. That's the bulk of your net valuation, the aggregated at that time overall median valuation to the Dow. Then we run the 60% mark, which we'd only ever been for a very short period. That little spike is the top of a very, very small above waterline iceberg with a massive base beneath it. And as you can see, it's not surprising in asset class to when you've done a doubling versus, and don't forget the Dow's also been moving forward. The 30 biggest companies have been moving forward. This is not against zero. This is against another asset class that has also got its own ability to move up. So after roughly a double X, and that was in a very short time. We're in December, it started end of September, probably October, and we got there probably by the end of November. In 2 months, 2 times the valuation, round number of 30%, now 60%. So some of you can appreciate it. And we're still holding that 60%. We actually went as far as 65 at one point, probably just through the 65. And that would point to the fact that you were probably 2/3 of the Dow, where previously you were 30%. So that's pretty spectacular. I think most of you will agree that that's a pretty decent effort. So that's what's happened on the Dow. What about the more mainstream and larger constituent S&P 500. So we're dealing with equity indices first, and we're doing a relative valuation. It's quite understandable after doubling. Don't forget the Bitcoin to the dollar price. It's kind of what have we done relative to the other asset classes. This is in essence what we're doing. And the other asset classes are very much a case of saying, well, you've done pretty damn well. So again, having a look at it, how have we done relative to the S&P? Well, the S&P is different. The S&P's value is not as high as Bitcoin in the recent history. So that means when you take Bitcoin and you divide it, as we're doing here, when you take Bitcoin and you divide it by the S&P 500, you're actually getting a number larger than 1. At its absolute extremity over here, which didn't last long, you're almost at the 7.5 level, a key round number. So we're looking at the key round numbers playing a role even in relative value assessments. It's significant when you go from being 30% to 60%. Those are quite round numbers, and you'll see more of this happening. So if we look at it against the S&P 500, the 2.5 was your median hanging area. You were straddling this value. You were a little bit below, you're a little bit above. You're a little bit below, you're a little bit above. You're a little bit below, you're a little bit above. You're snaky either side. Then you start squeezing to the top corner, and then you break and run. You have effectively left the 2.5 times the S&P value to become, wait for it, key round number, 5 times. 5 times the S&P. So you've doubled your relative valuation against the S&P as well. And that's also fascinating. It's a key round number and you made it, and then guess what? You get a little bit of pullback. It's not surprising to me that that does occur, that you get a little bit of pullback in that event. It doesn't surprise me at all. And the interesting aspect about it, for me is where we will end up in the longer run. So we actually have HVF, because we have an HVF, a Hunt Volatility Funnel Method structure for Bitcoin against the dollar. In other words, we are stating, remember, macro continuation pattern on the big time frame for Bitcoin. We are actually extreme bulls on the macro time frame. We also have a similar structures against these other relative valuations, because Bitcoin is the main architect of this chart. It's not about major swings in the S&P and Dow. Everything they're moving in percentage terms is relatively small beer next to what Bitcoin, the higher volatility asset class, has done. So let's have a look. Where it's meant to end. We have a target of roughly 9.25. I would expect the 10x. That means at a point when this structure has met its full target, we expect overperformance in the same way we do against the dollar, but there will still be a rest, significant rest, in the same way you're experiencing a significant rest now. Had most of you sold at 19,257, you would all be having the opportunity to have bought a couple of times at 16,800, 17,000, whatever, and you would be accumulating Bitcoin. And you could sit out the drama. You also wouldn't have any carry cost on your leverage. Now, it's a dangerous game to play in a macro bull market, but I'm just saying these key levels are significant and they will come again. So what you're experiencing and feeling now, you will feel again. But where will these levels be? Well, I'm trying to give you an idea. And I'm trying to give you an idea as they get more significant they could go on for longer. And you will lose your way and get out of it and think the bull's over, only to watch it re-pump. And then the level where that's likely to happen in S&P valuations is going to come in and around 10, in my guess. In and around 10. We have targets up to 9.25 and their rounds. Now, you normally typically just run in the same way. We didn't stop on 5. We actually almost made 5.45. We almost did 5.5 times the valuation. That extra half times the valuation is quite a lot, actually. And in the same way, you should probably run to 10. So at some point in the future, having spent 2.5 years pivoting around the 2.5 times valuation of the S&P, Bitcoin could indeed be 10 times. Who's excited by that fact? Raise your hand. That's 4 times where it was. And even taking it from where we are here, it's another doubler on the S&P, regardless what the S&P does. And on top of that, it doesn't include the further overperformance that'll come later. So it's just going to be a resting point, in my opinion, but I'm warning you where the next resting point will come. And this is a chart you can generate on TradingView. And at the very end of this YouTube, if you are still watching there, we will show you how to do it. Okay, so you've got key level on indices. Let's do something a bit different, because after all, Bitcoin's supposed to be the replacement for gold. Let's throw in some precious metals. Who wants to see that? I certainly do, and I'm ready to show that to you. So let's go start with the big boy, gold. So this next chart that you're seeing is in fact Bitcoin's overall valuation divided by whatever gold has done. Now, gold had an upside HVF against the pound and the euro, which we called, traded, and made some great money on. And we closed the dollar version of it when the other two made their targets. And since then, that was in August the 7th, since then, you've actually been in what we refer to as progress decay, which means time elapses and you generally only go down or sideways. And that's exactly what's happened. But that was an 8-year, going on 8-year setup. Bitcoin is a 2.5 year, but don't forget, in percentage of Bitcoin's life, that's even more significant. So what's been happening on gold, and where's the next level? Well, guess what, good people? Who remembers actually when Bitcoin first overtook the gold price? I remember that day. I was actually watching it. I was already in the crypto markets. It wasn't that long ago, actually, so I'm not a grandpa of the crypto markets. But it was around 1300. I remember gold was around 1300, whatever, and Bitcoin went through 1300, whatever, and that was 2017. And wow, everyone said, that's insane, that's insane. Well, this entire setup, and I've got a little bit tighter around this. You could extend it a little more. You could add it, this yellow zone, you could have taken from 7, and you could have dipped it down to the same degree to around 3. And you could have put a box around that. But actually, the bulk of the volume, when you do volume by price analysis and the most of the valuation, this was absolute overshoot. We know about it. This was an undershoot. So that was your buy valuation cheap. Those were your sell and distributes. There was a bit of sell and distribution there. There was your coronavirus was an absolute gimme for buy against gold ounces, and then you came back and you sat on here, and then you left at this corner. You were aggregatedly around 5. So since 17, the last quarter 3 into quarter 4 of 17, right the way through 2.5 years up till September, you were just above the 5 times the gold valuation, whilst gold was also in its own version of an upside move, remember. So this is a big point, and this is the Peter Schiff versus crypto trolls argument. If I were to say to you, the target here is in and around 18.5 times whatever valuation is gold, shouldn't we all be wanting a high valuation in gold? The gold guys should, and the crypto guys with HVF method that I'm telling you where the next major pause will be. There'll be a couple other subsidiary moderate pullbacks like the one we're experiencing now. But the next major league pause in relative valuation will occur as you are approaching the 18 and a third level, which will probably see you even overshoot possibly to the big 20 level. Where did we just hit recently that you're now running into heavy weather? How many of you know? How many of your Twitter followers are saying to you right now, important fact, do you realize we are 10 times the value of the current price of gold right now? How many of them are even telling you? We're talking about people that regularly refer to Bitcoin being the electronic replacement for gold as store of value. How many of you have said that? Answer me. How many of you have noticed that of your own accord until you were sitting on this YouTube channel listening to the bespectacled man in his coat telling you tales of relative valuation? How many? Let me have a look at the comments and take a break. Weimar will come 2022 global. The Great Closet. What value is the comparison giving, Francis? We can only buy and sell BTCUSD. No, you can't. Relative valuations are incredibly useful. They're incredibly useful because it gives you the performance of something against other assets that will also be inflating in value, or rather illustrating the degree of deflation in value of your purchasing power. So it doesn't matter how you say it. They're all jumpers that have jumped out the plane, all the currencies. But there are a couple of planes. One holds its altitude, maybe it's gold. One is actually climbing slightly, it's Bitcoin, and is continuing to gain further altitude relative to it. Do you want to be in the fighter plane heading up to the stratosphere? Or do you want to be in the Hercules that is just holding altitude and it's let someone jump? There are people jumping out of all different vehicles. All these vehicles are good vehicles, are going to do well and hold their value and climb in devaluing fiat. Money is running into them. Different amounts, and they have different market caps. So even if we get 100 billion into crypto, it has a far more significant effect on crypto prices than 100 billion into gold or silver because of market caps of those markets. So obviously Bitcoin is going to be the fastest. I've always said it's the beach ball in the corner of your room, and we have to squeeze Jupiter, which is the quadrillions of debt and bond markets and everything else, into that crypto blockchain. How's it going to grow? And we've got to do it in a pretty short time because the tent's being pulled down. So it is your fastest horse. But that doesn't mean the gold market doesn't get a few trillion as well. It doesn't mean the silver market doesn't get a few 100 billion as well. It doesn't mean the stock, the stinky stoink market by valuations, doesn't get ever more perverse by valuation on the basis that you've got to put your money in something because leaving it in the bank is death. That's the key answer. No interest, more of it being proliferated. They're doubling the supply of money. 35% of the world's dollars were created in the last 18 months, I think, 2020, sorry, just for this year, 9, 10, 11 months. 35% of total dollars were created in this year. That is a shocking admission. Do that in 2 years and you've doubled the money supply. It's absolutely obscene, virtually, not exactly. So, okay, so we're moving on. Genius, says Fady Elias. I hope he's talking about me, but he might not be. Dixie looks like it's bottoming. Dollar milkshake coming. Yep, possibly. We'll talk more on that on the 20th of December. 20th, 2020. 12th month. Brent Johnson, back on. More about dollar, more about everything. Lots of interesting things. Lynn Alden, George Gammon, and other people. Gentlemen from NEM coming. Crypto coin, very interesting. So we'll have a couple of thoughts, which we'll talk to you about. Richard Watts, hey Francis, I normally ignore XRP, but the chart looks quite squeezy for the upside potential. I will be talking to you at the end of this about why I think and which I think will do possibly better than Bitcoin if we're currently at a localized low, which I think we are. And we're going to cover quite a bit more. This is a detailed YouTube today, guys. There's some good stuff in here. I spent a lot of time putting some good stuff. Let's keep going. So 10, you've just gone from 5 times your valuation to the S&P, to gold, to 10 times. Are you shocked that we're having a rest? Come on, give it a break, give it a chance. You're smarter than that. It's a doubling, and it's a doubling against things that have gone up as well. What about silver? Just for a bit of fun, it's the high beta. Well, we're mining the precious metals, so let's stay with them. How's it gone in numbers against silver? Now remember, post-COVID-19 dip, silver actually made an all-time low on that wick low, but post that event, it absolutely smashed up far faster than gold. We went from 128 gold-silver ratio, which you could have watched on this channel, as we called the gold bull on the 113, plus the upside HVFs on the gold GBP and gold euro, and that's silver would outperform. You could have been in on all of that, especially inside our community. Links below, links below, links below to book a chat. What's it done? Well, where's the key level of value in gold, silver? 500. This is your pivoting area. You did go a little bit below. You obviously had the spikes above. You did go a little bit below in what was the CV19 dip. But this is your key area, gold, silver. And then you said goodbye. You said goodbye. What was the pivoting? We talk about stall box theory and the mean through the stall box. That's the 500. It's the key round number through that. 500 ounces bought you 1 Bitcoin, guys. How many of you knew that? For 2.5 years, that was the general number most of the time. If you bought Bitcoin for less than 500 ounces, you were probably doing a great buy. And if you bought Bitcoin for more than 500 ounces, you were probably, during this 2.5 year period, paying more than you needed to. How many of you are aware of that? Where did it get to? 750, and now she rests. You've had a 50%, no, not a doubling, a 50%. It's not all simple. Everyone goes, well, Bitcoin just doubled in dollars. It's doubled. What are you talking about? It's doubled against everything. No, it hasn't. It hasn't doubled against silver. It's gone up 50% in silver. So it's the fastest horse, but it hasn't doubled against silver, which makes another very valid point. You should also still consider, with these threats of electric EMS storms and the World Economic Forum coming, hacking, and all of these attacks on digitized assets, having chased everybody into the digital realm, wanting to kill cash, how do they do a great leveling and reduce everybody to the same level? Shock and horror, the Russians, the Chinese, the North Koreans, the bad guys, the boogeyman, the man from Mars, the lizard queen, the coronavirus stole all your banking money. Sorry. Never mind, government will pay you some money in our new UBI world. Watch out, there's value to having something physical that isn't digitized. I just like to put that out there. It's not the fastest horse, but have a stable of horses. Okay? All right, so 750. Where's the next rest going to be? 1,000. 1,250, and our target 1,500, which will be the longest rest. But here are other milestones. You can watch these for yourself. It's given for free. This video will stay up. You can watch it on silver. Those are going to be big levels. And beautifully, our target is very close to that 1,500 mark. And then I think we will go into overperformance, for Bitcoin. But it will rest a bit there. It will rest a bit there. And who knows, maybe the tax man will be knocking on some doors already, coming for his capital gains. Solution is available for traders. Leverage trading, 100x if you're in Europe, outside of Europe, but with a European company, without a capital gains profile. Capital gains protection for your crypto. We'll be discussing it on the 20th of 2020. That's December, this month that we're in, on the 20th. As we bury 2020, how you can do it at a reasonable cost without involving lawyers and everything else. Separate entities. Yes. Love it. Keep the wolf at that door. Okay, so we've done silver. What about, let's rip through the metals quickly. I'll show you a metal that's actually been underperforming. Anyone guessing what I'm going to bring up here? Which is a metal that's been underperforming of the precious metals fold? Let's use the smarty pants amongst you. Your replies in the comments, please. While stocks last, while comments. Super chats. I'm going to have $10 super chats. This is what YouTube wants you to do. Would you guys want super chats and someone to answer your question and all of that stuff? I see all these people doing it. I don't know. Platinum, he says. Yes, platinum. Platinum has been an underperformer. Platinum, through most of my adult life, has been a higher price than gold. It is actually significantly more rare than gold. You can't fill a couple of Olympic pools of platinum. It is really rare stuff. And it's actually been underperforming, mainly because of the performance of palladium and decisions on diesel and petrol catalytic converters. It has industrial use, but it's actually a precious metal with very unique attributes. So, and I've got to laugh when I hear these clowns talking about there's unlimited gold, there's an asteroid made of just about pure gold, and you know, you could harvest it. You know, what are they going to do? Catch it in a net and fly spacemen up to mine it? Think of the costs of extraction of that. It is just such a nonsensical Winklevoss twins gobbledygook horse manure. Anyway, so forget about capturing asteroids or flying your ship up to one and then just chipping a couple of blocks off it. It just don't quite work like that. Never mind the cost there too. So here we have XPT USD. What happened with platinum? What's the relative valuation on platinum? During the 2-year period where you spend most of your time, beautiful round numbers. Who's seeing beautiful round numbers here? Anybody? Anybody? You were at 10, you just made 20. Does it get any simpler than that? You had 1 Bitcoin for 10 ounces of platinum, now you need 20. And you wonder why you rest having just run that level and you're sitting at around 17.67. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Key levels of significance in numbers, key round numbers. And where's our target? 30. 30. Learn HVF method for yourself in our self-study program, an entry where you can watch the vids. You can still come and do a non-farm with us and get a Sunday session. It's at a lower price point, or become part of the community. Book a call and chat. You can find out why we say 30 times and then you rest. Then you will rest. There'll be a possible point. We have an interim level here and a round number there, which could be a small point of rest. 25 is quite a key number, but 20, when you're coming from 10, it's the great 2x. It's not 50%, it's 2x. Why? Platinum's been lagging. Platinum, nobody loved platinum, but that won't stay that way forever. Trust me, I don't think it will. Especially when the proliferators get a printing. So that's platinum. Let's rip through one more. Ooh, maybe not. Maybe I've got 2. Let's, don't save. Let's rip through Palladium. Now, Palladium has actually been the big runner. Some of you will know this. We were trading this long. During our gold bull run, we got 100x leverage on a rare metal like Palladium. I don't know anywhere else I could have done that. That's a platform that we introduced to, and you can do it from an entity that is 100% controlled by you. That would be your company account, and it will be capital gains free, providing you are not living in this country, which is an extremely small South American company. So I think you can save yourself a whole bunch of unnecessary capital gains tax if your structure are doing it. It's legal. You can do it too. Only idiots overpay, okay? Or only the uneducated. I don't want to call you idiots. I've overpaid. For years of my life, I overpaid. If you're done overpaying, make sure you're there on the 20th. Okay, so let's have a look at Bitcoin versus Palladium. Anyone notice this is not so overwhelmingly for Bitcoin? Sure, there was the huge bull move there. That was super dominant. Anyone else notice that this is a little bit more lower key? And in actual fact, if I were to band the key level, and I took quite a while doing this and looking at the volume and put that as an outlier to the upside, the actual valuation, relative valuation, was 5 ounces of Palladium. 5 ounces of Palladium. You're learning these amazing numbers that you can look at something. The dollar is rubbish, guys, and it's being proliferated. You're trying to measure something with a ruler that keeps getting shorter. Your millimeters are shrinking. Your centimeters are shrinking. You're a monkey on a greased pole. That's why the horizon keeps getting higher. And you've got to look further and keep scrambling to see as far as you want to see and spend as little as you want to spend and have the things you want to buy, because you're a monkey on a greased pole. Why not forget the fiat? Use another measurement. And now you're getting precious metals. Palladium, 5 times went to 8. Some of you will go, Well, that's a 60%. A 60% year And don't forget, this 5 pretty much held most of the time. You had touched 8 before there on the Echo bull market that topped out at $14,000, just sub. And you also were as low as 250. There. Lows of COVID, lows of the bear market, you're at 2.5 Palladium ounces, midpoint 5, and the top of the range, probably around 7.5, you've made 8. 60% up against Palladium. Different kind of chart, W bottom, different kind of technical analysis. What typically happens at the W bottom when you re-meet the neckline? You have a little pullback. So Bitcoin's going down a little bit. Get over it. It'll be back. It will be back. A small dip, come back, impulsive break, return move, off you go. Where's the target on that? 13.4. How'd you like to be? Going from 2.5 to 5 to 8 to 13.4 in relative valuation against a metal that's been killing it recently. So Palladium's been eating platinum's dinner, mainly because of automotive demand and the move away from diesel engines and various other things. So Palladium was hopelessly over demanded. And if I showed you the Palladium against the dollar chart, it's a pretty impressive chart. But we're doing relative value assessments, and we've got lots of good stuff still to show you. Who's surprised by that? 60% up against one of the strongest precious metals. And I'm talking about in 2 months, 8 weeks. We can't complain about a rest, can we? Now, who's heard of this other metal? Who knows who's the highest performing metal for 2020 in terms of upside growth? Your comments are being monitored and watched. We have a trip to Lagos for the smartest man in the house. Platinum and gold for mains, says Devolt Lawrence. Pale Whale, USA. Palladium for starters, says a couple of you. Copper's done very well. It's an industrial metal, not a precious metal. Lithium is a rare earth mineral for batteries-ish. I think it qualifies as rare earth. I stand corrected. It's a fine element. I'm talking about a precious metal. I'm getting uranium, no, and then Kino Zabi is our winner for today, although he needs to learn how to spell rhodium. It is R-H-O-D-I-U-M, but he is our winner. Well done indeed. So what have we got here? Can you believe me that this is a Bitcoin chart? Would you say it's bullish? No, sir, no. Bitcoin against Rhodium. So this is a little bit for the guys that have just gone total full-blown belief. A little bit of sanity, a little bit of calmness. There are other things that have gone up a whole bunch. There are other things that have gone up a whole bunch. Rhodium, you could have with 10 units of rhodium have bought Bitcoin. It went all the way up to, wait for it, probably around 155 just about. Just shy of 155, and it's round-tripped, crashed. That's Bitcoin I'm talking about. Bitcoin has round-tripped, crashed in rhodium ounces all the way back down, had a minor echo boom that took it to, wait for it, key round number 50. So you ran 150. We always say the key level is run. That's 150. Baseline 10, another key number. You bounced to 50 and you came back to 10 twice, and you're rolling over and heading back down to 10 in rhodium ounces. That rhodium's been moving, boys and girls. It's been shifting. It's been shifting big time. 150 units of rhodium was your top. So there are other things in this world that go up. Yes. And this is real. You can hold it. It's offline. There's some value to that. It's kind of handy to have things in the ether that you can sell quickly, move around quickly, easily, internet, all of this good stuff, until it isn't. Okay? Good. So I think we're enjoying ourselves. What's the lads have to say? Is this interesting and valuable? I found this fascinating because fiat is not worth anything. Unobtainium, says the Great Closet. I like that. Good one, mate. Good one. You get 2 weeks in Lagos for that joke. Right, let's up the game a little bit. We've done, so far, precious metals, palladium, gold, silver, a rare group that you've rarely looked at the chart for, rhodium, which is just a moon spike chart, largely for this year. Not every year, but for this last 18 months. We've also looked at platinum, which was one of the underperformers. We've taken a look at the Dow and the S&P in relative valuations. We found that there was a holding period around a round number, typically the case, against all of those assets for which we've stepped up to in case the next round level. Now, in our community, we have all the interim steps in between brought to us by our targets done on this using Hunt volatility method, plus the big target where it'll rest the longest so that we could be a little bit out and certainly not on long leverage at that point to maximize wealth in these blow off fiat proliferation times. Who thinks that's valuable? I think it's hell of a valuable. So let's have a look at one you all love. Some of you love to hate. Who be it that? Tesla to Bitcoin. Now I've cheated here because I've made a log scale on the side. I will show you the unlog chart in a minute. It's worth taking observation. So actually, one of the things that have gone up more than anything else this year is the stinky stoink of the iPhone battery car thingy. And that is elongated muskiness's primary product that has just gone, and gone. Earnings be damned, pump, and pump. So where's the key levels here? Well, interestingly, Bitcoin against Tesla, the go-go's, and there's cults associated with all of them. And I suggest be of all of them and none of them. Do not be an absolute out-and-out believer. See the value of some. Close some calls. Very happy with making 655 our target from 450 level. Beautiful HVF method. We did it. Guys have taken money off there. Even people under this roof, apart from me, have been taking money on that one, which I'm glad to hear. 250 Tesla shares were required at the bull market highs 2017 to 2018. You need a quarter of a way to 1,000 stocks of Tesla to buy one single Bitcoin at 20,000. Well, that should help you, because if it was 1,000, it would have been $20 stock. It must have been around $80 at that time to be 250. Then, more recently, when Bitcoin was 14, let's just call it 14,000 at its highest point, it was 250 again. So again, you can divide 14,000 by 250. It would be around 40 plus 4. Yeah, it's probably around 64 odd dollars. That's kind of low. It's kind of low. I'd have to check the maths for that. But it's at Bitcoin was 250 times safely. Where is it today? Well, it's at 28.64. 25 Tesla was a key area that was a bit of a resistance. And you have a little bit of a neckline that's on the 45 to 50 range. So 50 Tesla shares is an interesting level for one Bitcoin, and 250 makes Bitcoin look expensive. So when Bitcoin is 250x Tesla, it looks expensive. Is Tesla the most important and best benchmark? Absolutely not. Absolutely necessarily not. But is it useful with all these others together for checking when Bitcoin is relatively more overweight, overheavy, expensive, or at a key round number, multiple, that will typically get you a reaction? The billionaires, the really smart money, have money in this stock and Bitcoin. They have money in gold and silver and Bitcoin. You're thinking you have to decide which one. They thinking how much in each. That's the difference in decision. Let me say that again. You're thinking I've got X amount of money. I need to put it all on the fastest horse. Let me tell you how they think. And you need a little bit more of their think. That's why they're billionaires. How much do I allocate to each? And the question is, how liquid is it? How easy will I get it out? What's its relative valuation? So this relative value assessment is really, really fascinating. And if we open up the Tesla without the log scaling, just to give you the full extent of the degree of boom and bust that it's had, it's done an absolute round tripper. That's an unlogged scale. All the other charts unlogged. So like for like unlogged, including the Rhodium chart, unlogged. So I showed you the log scale to try to just make it a bit more visually clear, but essentially this is what you've had. You've had a buy Bitcoin at 20, 25 Tesla shares, potentially not a bad value at 50, sell it at the 250 stroke 275. I'm happy with the 250 line. It's round about there. You overshot it a little bit, so you can say maybe 275. By the way, would I sell it 100% of my Bitcoin if it goes to 275 times Tesla tomorrow? No, because I think we're in a super macro environment where Bitcoin is going to be so dominant, it's going to make new all-time valuation highs. But is it possible it has pullbacks and rest periods like you're experiencing now? So you guys are all feeling the pain of the last week. And I'm here to tell you when next those events can happen and how they are predictable, and where the interim levels on HVFs occur and where the relative value assessment round numbers are. So whilst Bitcoin could go to 500 times a Tesla share, in fact, Tesla shares could go to zero for all things remain possible, but it would probably have a rest at the 250 stroke 275 range. If you're combining it with also confluencing with super high valuations at major round numbers against platinum, particularly gold and silver, which are the big majors. So that's really interesting. I'm going to show you another technique. Who's still with us? We're going to show you why localized lows, and a real thing that you will get as an advantage for seeing potential localized lows. So I'm going to show you Bitcoin's performance and liquidations, how liquidations work. In fact, let's open that with a different app. We'll open it with Paint. That's a slightly crap framing. Put it down there. So I highlighted yesterday on a tweet both Ethereum and Bitcoin. The one thing I like about the Phoenix platform, you can have the liquidations be shown to you. And they put black dots. And if you point your cursor to that black dots, it'll show you how many people, different price levels were liquidated. Those are forced closures of leveraged hands. It's a tragedy. It's retail traders' error. And guess what tends to happen? Those cluster of levels tend to be in areas like crops. And you usually end up, when you're getting close to it, spilling to hunt them out. Because there's a cluster of order there, there's automatically a non-cluster just above. We call that voids and vacuums, and then hard areas. It's kind of like rock. You get the igneous volcanic rock, and you get all that sedimentary rock, and then later you get this mountain range with these layers, and the in-between bits have been eaten out by the wind and water erosion, and then you get this hard slate layers. That's how price behavior happens. So it hunts quickly through the soft stuff and then hits the key levels. And what tends to happen? It's where your stop is. That's what tends to happen. And you get liquidations. So yesterday I did a tweet and I said, a gift that you're not using right now in your trading is Phoenix liquidations for localized and absolute lows. Localized and absolute lows. Yeah. See, one more time it'll give it me. No, it won't. There, 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 and there. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'm going to try, whoops, it's not working well, using lots of applications inside the same thing. Sorry, guys. Let's open that up one more time and see if I can make it a bit bigger, because it was kind of small. Now, how many of you are familiar with the liquidations feature? Let me see if we can increase the view there a bit as well. battling on a little bit. How many of you are familiar with it? Talk to me about it. Have you been able to, where's the zoom button? Down here, finally. Here are those liquidations. Let's try that one more time. There, 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 and there. Let me know if you can see it. By the way, how ironic it is with HVF structure, and I'm giving you a little bit of an idea of a draw. Short there, continuation pattern there, target made there. That's your gradient of gain. 90 degrees there. That's a great gradient of gain. What did you do? You went slightly lower and more liquidations at this level, all at our target level. Don't you love a method that confluences with everything that's going on in the market? Man, you guys should be learning this. You should be learning this. You should be applying it. You'll be able to make better quality of decisions in Hunt Volatility Method we trust. Where's my community guys? Give it a shout out. Some of you will be in the chat. Nice to see Devault, by the way, over there. I saw him. What's your comments like, by the way? So who thinks that's valuable? Localized low on liquidations. Localized and sometimes absolute lows on liquidations. So what's the message in this current video? It's potentially possible that we have made a localized and even an absolute low for this selling arm, and that you might get some joy by being net long again. Now, if you go and leverage your account to the moon and it sells off like a donkey, do not come back on the channel here. I'm just saying there might be some respite. There is possibility for some overperformance, but at the end of the day, we're not seeing it so much. I'm going to go to the natural charts now. I've shown you all the prepared charts I wanted to show you. You've seen relative valuations against a smorgasbord of precious metals, including very rare ones that have very much overperformed, Rhodium and Palladium. You've seen it against the Dow Jones. You've seen it against Tesla, the stock, and the S&P 500. You've seen why the round numbers of relative valuation keep showing up. A massive feature of our key levels of significance that we will be teaching you when you come on board, because the smart amongst you will be joining us. I know that. You've also seen the liquidations and what a great gift that is for how your trading will work. Now, let's take you to Ethereum, Bitcoin, and bring it back to the normal markets in what you understand, the donkey fiat currency. Now, on Ethereum, I'll give you a super quick glance and I'll draw quickly. You'll be able to see that that target was made literally by a whisker, and that you then subsequently failed to make a new low. You failed to make a new low. See that there? Back to the draw mode. Failed to make a new low. While in actual fact, in Bitcoin's case, you went lower the second time, didn't you? Now that is great news for our bull scenario. Why are both those things great news for our bull scenario? Great to see Himanshu and Devault. Yes, great to see a few of you guys there. Jacques Soden, hey, good to see you guys. Talk to the guys in chat. Anyway, so why is it good? Because the marginally lower low for Bitcoin is your God market. So let's take the Bitcoin in. We'll come back to ETH and what our conclusions are. We take Bitcoin in and we will understand why. The marginally lower low is good because it's a beginning of bottoming processes. Just as we warned you, the slightly higher high, the marginally higher high was a problem and there would be some sell-off coming. We said it, if you're following on Twitter, and we mentioned it possibly in one or two of the last crypto snipers, that this was a bit of buggery, this. We didn't like it, and it meant there would probably be sell-offs. Marginally higher high. And then what did you get? Squeezy, squeezy, Japanesey, sell-off, target made. Now on Bitstamp, which I was doing the bulk of my work because I like the history, the 17.5 was made. The target on Binance has also largely been made, I think. I'll have to check. Most exchanges, the downside is probably played out. Could there be a last sell-off? Possibly. So you made a marginally lower low on Bitcoin. You could come down one more time and lower again, but overall it's my assessment that you are no longer having complete spiller events. The pushback is starting and the buy the dip guys are re-showing. Now, going back to the seasonality, possible that there was much more sellers during the working week this week they'll be taking off. They'll be only back on Monday. We could actually have quite a reasonable weekend. In other words, we switch polarity possibly. So the fact that BT made a marginally lower low points to bottoming. It's the God market that is supportive for Ethereum. The fact that Ethereum didn't make a marginally lower low is supportive in the sense that it showed real relative strength to Bitcoin. So can you see where I'm taking you slowly? Didn't make a new low. Has the snapback in percentage terms? How's it done? How are they down? Let's just refresh that. At one point it was ETH that was slightly stronger than Bitcoin. In fact, Bitcoin has recovered now. It's gone from being negative, and ETH has also recovered. So they are actually flat to mildly positive, with ETH showing a slight overperformance. So then let's look at the overall ETH charts. Can you see that the rest of your altcoins, and this is why I say Ethereum is in a different class to the rest. I know some of them think they are Ethereum killers. As far as scale, commitment, dev team, currently achieved milestones, market cap, liquidity, and quite a few other things, they are an absolute standard above. Others may have a better platform, a new platform that will be quicker, that will get around obstacles that Ethereum may never clear. All sorts of very compelling stories. They haven't delivered that yet to a suitable level, or if they have delivered it, they haven't got enough people to believe them yet. So until the masses come, the better mousetrap theory is people are not going to beat their way to your door when there's already a highway for them to utilize right from their front door. And Ethereum is that highway when it comes to the platform approach. So, well, it's jumping around a little bit. Look at that. All these others are down 2%, 3%, 1.5%, 1%. Only the stable coins are giving you green numbers, except our old friend Monero, who just has to hold his 15th place. So he's gone up today quite nicely. Good for you, bud. The rest are all down. So you can see alts. You get alts and you get Ethereum. And that's why I watch Ethereum a lot more than many of the others. So let's have a look at ETH-BTC. So this is a measure of relative value now. So we haven't stopped doing relative value. You guys are used to doing this one. You're not used to doing all that cross-market stuff. That freaked your brains out. Most of you still don't know what it is in dollars terms. Some of you feel uncomfortable and go, nice exercise, but I'll never do that again or do it for myself. Big mistake. Think about it. Big mistake. But anyway, in the meantime, let's talk a relative value of one crypto to another. That's what you've got up top here. And Bitcoin possibly is in the process of bottoming. We need Bitcoin to stop going down to permission alts to be optimistic. Which alt has already shown a degree of relative strength early? The one we're busy looking at right now. So hammers are bullish signs of buying coming in relatively, but we haven't had much follow through. That's a hammer. Let's get rid of it. That's a hammer. Let's try one more time. I promise I can draw with this thing. Let's get out there and make this a bit easier for me to draw. Try one more time. So we have a succession of hammers. There. 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 And spinning tops. That's quite low volatility and a real sign that dips are being brought back up. Dips are being brought back up. Dips are being brought back up. That is not panic selling. It's the corollary. People are saying, you know what, I'm going to hold on. It keep coming down here. I'm going to keep getting you. We haven't, however, had the additional confirmation of a major move away. We started to, and then indecision, dojis, those are spinning tops, those two there, point to, okay, we'll stay away from that level, but we're not exactly running away just yet. And that's probably occurred with the process of Bitcoin making a new low. The God market still leans on all alts, including the Queen alt. which is Ethereum. So we watch that. When is this idea over? You run that low or that low, forget it. And I would expect that's probably coming then with Bitcoin selling off. So that's how we be wrong. This is just a hypothesis. It's a possibility with a certain probability or percentage. So probabilities on me doesn't mean they're going to happen. It just means it's a percentage allocation. You can have a 5% probability. It's combinations and permutations all the way up to a 95%. So anything can be given a score. The question is, where do we score this now? Well, it's an easy entry and a very early stop out. And what's the round number of significance? 30%. Hopefully after what we've done on relative value assessments, you can see why we are congesting around a 0.03. I said 30%, I mean 3%, please. 3%, the relative valuation. One Ethereum buys you 3% of a Bitcoin. I think that can go up. I think that can go up. I don't know if it's going to go up now. We'll wait and see. We would ideally like to see that move away. And I would argue to you, you have a confirmation of a move if you take out that 3.14-ish percentage high. That's it. So that's a possible trade for you. And it would go quite far and do fairly well. And inside our community, we have the targets for that. In fact, we have a full setup for it with 4 time frame draws, with a trend and everything. People learning to do life skills to build their wealth utilizing relative valuation, cross crypto, cross market, as we've discussed today. That's what you're missing right now. And if you don't think that can pay for a full program as a trading metamorphosis program with a year and all the manner of other things, as well as even fund your capital gains protection development, then I've failed as a person, as a teacher, as someone who just shows charting and relative valuation. Then I have failed. That's all I can say. Links are below. Book a call. It costs you nothing. Excellent. Let's have a look at some questions. What do you guys ask? AUD is moon shooting. So this is on the crypto channel. I'm going to keep it crypto. The other markets were for relative valuation. You can indeed look at Bitcoin against the Aussie dollar. Please do. Please feel free. We've looked at gold across the Aussie dollar on the Market Sniper channel. We've done all of these things. KM Mining wants a moving average. What kind of response is poor Mr. KM Mining going to get from me? He's not going to get such a warm response. Why? Because I'm going to say, why the hell are you putting a moving average on there? Why do you want a chart that is going to get cluttered with a tow bar or a tow rope that is naturally going to be dragged behind your 4x4? And then you're going to say the 4x4 bounced off the tow rope. That's why the 4x4 turned left at the T-junction. Why would you want to do that? I, on moral principle, cannot indulge your request, because for me, it is to suffer a foolish endeavor. That doesn't mean I think you're a fool. I think you're a lovely guy. I had moving averages thrown at me when I started trading. I had everything thrown at me. All lagging indicators, all mathematical indicators, and I used them for a long, long time. And I got nowhere. Truth be told, I got nowhere. World Economic Forum collaboration, Chainlink. Oh dear. The Pro Sintu is telling me news. It's probably good for Chainlink. It sounds terrible. You don't want to be, well, I've got to be suspicious of anything that wants to align with a group of eugenicists. And that's who Klaus and his family. Go study the history of who our friend Klaus Schwab is and his family, and his role with the Rockefellers and all these other people. So these are not people that are thinking about your longevity and health. These are sheep managers. These are people with soft messages. I'm going to do a reset sniper this weekend, by the way. One of the most interesting words is inclusive capitalism. How nice, you might think. How nice to be included in the capitalism. Inclusive. It's a lovely tent. We don't want you out in the cold. Come on inside. Come on inside. This is the mealy mouth speak of a predator, a wolf in sheep's clothes, my friends. Inclusive capitalism means we asset strip you, you get hollowed out so that you're all the same, so that the crabs can no longer complain that so-and-so is rich, and we keep all the assets. It's Bolshevism by design. It's communism by the design. You need to use the tools they use. You need a corporation. You need it in a separate jurisdiction to where you live to give you the arbitrage value. We have the plan, and it's relatively low cost that can save you your capital gains and keep more of your money for you. They are inclusive capitalism with the Pope and all his friends, who's now been bent as the whole religious control structures are bent to meet all the other control structures in terms of how you manage the sheep. There has never been a more pulling together of the control structures of the world across religions, mega corporations, transnational quango groups like the IMF, the World Economic Forum ever before, and they're going to come with cunning language speak, like inclusive. We're all in this together. And what they actually mean is solidarity communism, friend. That's what they actually mean. And we'll do some resetting on that if you want. A very bent lot. Very fake Pope, says the Pro Center. I agree with that. VeChain has the best fundamentals in the crypto space. Many people have. You know what? If it's got great fundamentals, and a lot of people realize that, it'll end up in the top 10 and the top 15. If it can't get into the top 10 and the top 15, it may have the best fundamentals, but it's very crap in explaining them to people. It needs to see money backing, and we aren't requiring that we're the first. Forget the penny stock purchase. There's huge money in Apple. You had to have just bought it in the last decade. You didn't even have to have bought it on the first release of the iPhone, which was quite an obvious place, or the second or the third. And you could have done 10x. Tesla, you could have done 10x this year. Okay, so you don't have to be the early money. Let the money show you who the chosen winners are. Let the money show you who the chosen monies are. Someone wants Monero. I'll indulge Monero. Let's have a look at Monero because I haven't looked at it in a while. That's against USD. So a little bit of stirrings. Didn't have the biggest alt run in the beginning. Squeezing up a little bit, rising wedge. It's kind of could go a little bit rising wedgy up. Let's have a look at Monero against BTC. See, it had a terrible underperformance to Bitcoin not so long ago, and now it's kind of bottoming out. It's kind of holds. Monero seems to have a floor level of around 3/4 of 1% of a Bitcoin. 3/4 of 1% of a Bitcoin appears to be a floor level here. Since the bull boom, that's the 0.075. It tried to get away, and then with the skittishness, it got hammered back. So overall, is this a screaming buy yet versus Bitcoin? I would say it hasn't done enough to show relative strength. And in fact, its first effort at relative strength was smacked really hard all the way back down. So it's probably going to recover and have a bit of a bounce, but I'd prefer to see some encouraging price structure that shows that that's going to be the case. Before that, you had a massive broadening pattern, which was the beginning of the end of the bull. And since then, it's been in nothing but a bear market down. That said, when you look at it from its original issuance, it was around 20% of 1% of a Bitcoin. So it was 1/5 of 1% of a Bitcoin. Now, instead of 1/5, it's closer to 4/5 of a Bitcoin. So it's moved up 4x compared to Bitcoin, 4 times from July 16. So in 4 years and a half, it's 4 times. Not quite. Yeah, kind of. It's gone up from 302 to 308. Just under 8. It's 75. So it's about a 4x to Bitcoin. But it's gone very, very roundhouse way with a major boom and a major bust. So I'd wait for more evidence of support. The fact that it never went back down to the previous lows says there's an underlying use case that has advanced since its listing some degree. So it's not a bad thing to have gone up 3.5 times to Bitcoin in 4 years. It's not a bad thing. It's just a great pity it went 10, 20, 30 times first in getting there. So its day will come, potentially. We will see. We'll keep watching. It's not a must buy right away. What other questions do you guys have? No, you might be right. It says blind side. It could go lower. It could go lower. I'm just taking it from where it is. So someone's saying still sounding too bullish on Monero. Well, I would argue that everything is now moving up and we are in an overall bull market for both Bitcoin and the alts. And so far, since October, when that clearly began to start, Bitcoin has not Monero has not traded less than 0.6 of 1% of Bitcoin. So it's held that level, but it's also been spanked pretty hard on the way down. So I wouldn't say I'm bullish, and it got knocked down pretty hard, and it could slip down and come back to 0.02. Bitcoin could advance 4 or 5 times, and Monero could do much less. So it could lose relative value. How long will the bubble in Stoinks last? So Arrow, this is the key thing you need to understand. There is a bubble in stocks. It is hyper overvalued. The biggest bubble, however, is in fiat proliferation and debt. That needs devaluing. They need negative real interest rates. That's why they want to kill your cash so that you can't sit on cash. They want to put you in banks where if you don't spend or invest your money, they can charge you. They want negative real interest rates. Negative real means the inflation is higher than what you get paid in the bank. We already have that. But they might want to actually have actual negative rates for money you have in the bank. So the minute you have money, you've got to get it out. You've got to buy assets. You've got to get it things. Everything's going to go down in value. So we actually have the biggest bubble is debt. The biggest bubble is government debt, corporate debt, debt, and fiat. And that feeds other bubbles because people recognize that and recognize the dollar is closer to being a cent to the dollar since 1913. 1 cent of that a dollar. So actually, where you were a dollar millionaire once, now you're a dollar cents millionaire if you have $1 million. So that actually means you're not a millionaire. You got 10 grand. So 10 grand is 1913's millionaire. So the problem with that is the money is losing its value far more than everything else. So people are parking their money in things that they hope will lose less value than the currency. And that's why we have overvaluation in all these escape hatches. It's kind of like the boat is sinking. The Titanic is sinking. And you could say, well, we have a bubble in lifeboats right now. You know, everybody's just storming into lifeboats. We've got the blue lifeboat, the red lifeboat, the yellow for gold lifeboat. We've got the silver lifeboat, and we've got this lifeboat with a B on it. And everybody's just storming into different lifeboats. They all seem to be able to deal. They have different features. One has a roof. One has beds. The other one, you just sit on the planks and you just don't go into the water. You know, everybody is just storming into these different lifeboats. So we have a bubble in lifeboats. No, you actually have the complete devaluation of the original ship that makes everything else of great interest, which we'll see some of them going up too high. What else have we got you? Please make me Pope. We will have a great party at the Vatican. Just think of the wine. Yeah, there's good wine to be drunk there. It's probably a basement full of secrets and bodies to unearth as well. Randall Flag, 78 minutes in and just getting the notification. That's disgusting, Randall. Make sure you've hit all, by the way. Don't forget, key messages. Book a call. You can be doing this with us in our community. The link is below. Free mini series. You have no money, great. Learn some basic principles. Don't blow yourself up. That's one of them. Watch out on the leverage. Use exceedingly low leverage, if any at all. Preferably invest first. Tax from your always down from your leverage to your investment. And then get all the other details that are in the mini series. Capture the 20th of December 2020. Trading solution to protecting that which you earn. Trading, a trader's solution for traditional markets. We're going to have big moves on currencies as well, guys, and equities. You've seen it with Tesla. You've seen it. And most importantly, your crypto, which is the macro bull that we're calling, which we're still calling. All on the 20th. And I think that's all my messages. Any final questions? Yes, rule number 1, don't blow yourself up. Indeed, don't blow yourself up. Uptrend in Bitcoin from October looks like it just broke the downside. Let's finish with the Ethereum and the Bitcoin charts. We're saying a little bit of possibility of overperformance on Ethereum coming out of this. If Bitcoin is turning, if our God market says, yes, you may go, then so be it. Don't forget to do 360-degree analysis against other currencies. Are we at that localized low? Are we finally going to get the 20K? Possibly. Possibly. There can be another move down one more time because we stopped just a bit abruptly. We only made a marginally lower low there. We could get another move down and make another marginally lower low or have a final spill. But overall, it's starting to look a little bit better. And Ethereum is showing relative strength, providing the provisos I gave you already have held. And that is that level there at 33%. I keep saying 33% to a Bitcoin. 2 zeros and a 3. You don't want either of those levels to fail. Otherwise, it's probably not going to happen. Okay? Somebody said Ripple. I'll actually do Ripple because they are in the top. And some people are saying, I feel dirty, I bought Ripple, and interesting statements about it. They've also been mentioned with relation to the IMF. Could they also be a beneficiary? We'd need to see a lot more upside and squaring up here. But there's a few with this kind of structure in it. So don't say, Ripple overperformed your Ethereum call. It could be, but it would need to square up and get to the high side and spend more time closer to the 60 cents and above the 58. It's hanging a bit heavy. So it's quite a big bloated second impulse, as we call it here. It's taken its while about that. It's like a lazy athlete after eating too much dinner. And then you get Chainlink was the other one that is now tied up. These are the control structure coins. Link, I don't think that's nice chart effort. Again, all of these things could suddenly spike, but I'm not overly impressed. In fact, there's a small essence of head and shoulder in that even. But it will be saved, the indignity of that, if Bitcoin goes up or bases out. But there's a little bit of a key level there. I would normally say you don't have such a big right shoulder. I don't like big right shoulders. So I'm not calling it a bear. I think Bitcoin might well be possibly turning, but it'll come out of this. So Link's not particularly interesting for me technically. You could have a bit of interest on the Ripple. I think Ethereum looks better. That's it for your relative assessment session. Who found this useful? If you found that useful, do something for me. Please, one share with your best commentator that you like to follow apart from us. We hope you were one of them. Tag it on your Facebook, tag it on your Twitter, give it a share, say I learned something, go and enjoy. Book a call below, you help us. You know, we've had this channel on Crypto Sniper for a very long time. We're sitting on 26.4 subscribers. We're truly grateful for them because they're loyal, but I think we could have done a lot better. You know, the channel's been around for quite a while. We post quite often. We live stream. We've invested in a lot of lighting kits, Pearl systems, Wacom systems to try to do a reasonably decent job. We don't do tons of hours in edits. We're not Real Vision. We're not any of these big guys. But I'd like to think that we could go a little bit further and get to a 50,000 mark. Help us help you. When there's a bigger audience, we can spend more time feeding it. Otherwise, we put more of the activities into other things. We've got plenty to do. Help us grow it a little further. We're grateful to have you. We're not ungrateful for that 26.4. We are very, very grateful, but I think it could be more. And if you can help us grow it, we appreciate it. No ads at all. Thank you very much. I'm going to run. We will cover things like the DXY and everything else in our community, and also maybe future market sniper updates. So if you're wondering what the dollar's doing and many other things, that would be very, very grateful. Final questions. Gabriel Correa, inverted SKA. No, yeah. That's it. I'm going to call time. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good one. Thanks for participating.